I want to shift because I know you work in Kentucky, you work in Lexington specifically. I want to shift. So I was one of the people that was busted by this. The Kentucky basketball team this year, are they still like having trouble getting over that bad loss? Because I was actually one of the one getting busted when they got knocked out.
Yeah, no, the guys they've actually kind of moved on pretty well. I would say they're pretty hungry. I think they definitely want to redeem themselves, kind of wash off that funk, that stench that the Peacocks left behind against them. Interesting season. They'll be pretty solid, but that was crazy last year. I don't think anybody saw it coming. I didn't think they would lose in the first round. I didn't really have them making a run to the championship like a lot of people did, because I think they were the favorite on the bracketology.
Gonzaga was the favorite. I think they were third.
They were third? Okay. Yeah. I know for a while a lot of people were picking them to win. But yeah, they'll bounce back this season. I just wish I could watch Shaedon Sharpe in a Kentucky jersey.
Oh, yeah.
It's all good, though. I'll be okay.
You're also a big 49ers fan. And
you know it. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Hold on. Got the keys right
there. There you go.
I see it. Now, obviously, there's a wide receiver on that team that has been expecting a big long-term deal and hasn't gotten it yet. And to me, out of all the wide receivers that were available that did get extensions this offseason, I would say he's the best one out of all of them. Why are the 49ers sitting back and letting this guy get even more angrier by the day?
Because you see how Kyle Shanahan uses him. Mm-hmm. You don't want to invest big money on a player that you know you were just sending him out there to take on 20 hits a game at least. I mean, he's getting 10 touches, 10 carries. You're throwing the ball to him. You probably target him around 12 times a game with the screen passes and actual routes. So he's taking on a lot of hits at that position, and you don't want to pay a guy 20 million, 20 plus for everything, for 4 years.
He's 26 years old. He's still very young, and
still is, but he even suffered some injuries too.
You sound like you want to get rid of him.
Second season he did, yeah.
You sound like you want to get rid of him.
I don't want to get rid of him. I just understand why we're not paying him. I'm looking at this like Lynch and Shanahan are. We'll use him as long as we have him, and I'll put it like that.
He'll be gone next year. Isn't he a free agent after next year?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, because he was a second round pick. He wasn't a first round.
So he's a free agent. So if you franchise him, you're gonna piss him off, and then he's not gonna want to play.
You are. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And he's not going to want to play. He actually showed up. I was very surprised he showed up, because if I was him and I'm looking at all these other wide receivers making the money that they're making, he's much better than they are. He had a 1,600-yard season this year. I would be pissed off. One of the main reasons why the San Francisco 49ers were they were in the NFC title game was because of him. Okay? Him. Not Kittle.
He carried us, literally.
Not George Kittle. Not Jimmy Garoppolo, not that offensive line, not that running game that didn't show up in that game. It was him. And the fact that they're not respecting him enough to say, hey, you know what? You deserve a 3-year extension. Let's give you like 17, 18 million a year. You deserve it. And that's even on the cheap for what Adams got.
I don't think that's what he wants. I don't think he would agree to that. He probably wants 22 plus. I mean, you look at the contracts, like you just said, the other guys are getting. So
give him 3 years.
He knows the second he signs, like he's allowing himself to continue to be this hybrid.
So give him, he wants to not be used as that, but he wants to be paid more than that. Yeah, so it's kind of weird.
Give him 3 years, $22 million a year, worth about $66 million. I think that's a fair move. I mean, he's worth that. That's worth it. I know you don't want to give him a 5-year deal, a 4-year deal, or a 5-year deal. That's fine. So give him what he's worth. Don't sit there.
That's fair. I also think, too, I think these teams have gone with the philosophy that you see the Chiefs kind of taking, the Titans taking. You'll use a wide receiver up for that first little portion of their career, that first 5-year window, and then when they want that big money, let them go. I mean, even the Titans, they beat A.J. Brown to the punch. They went ahead and flipped him to the Eagles. And
I don't think Kansas City.
We'll get the next A.J. Brown with Traylon Burks.
Yeah.
The Titans are also one of those teams you can't really trust with developing wide receivers, though, outside of A.J. Brown.
I also don't think Kansas City wanted to lose Tyreek Hill. I think the whole point with Tyreek Hill is there was a lot of things going within the Andy Reid situation and Patrick Mahomes. It's not – I don't think it's a story that Tyreek Hill is taking shots at, since he's been traded. He's been taking shots at the organization, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, the way he has. I think it's a lot more entailed. I don't think it had anything to do with the money. I think they were going to pay him. I just don't think they were going to pay him, the money that he got. But I think Kansas City wanted to re-sign him. But they have to worry about either Kelsey or him, and I think Kelsey is more important because of what he has done and what he's been for that organization.
And he's that safety valve. He made the big catch against the Bills that put them right there to hit the field goal. So
it's harder to find a talented tight end.
Right.
It's harder to find a dominant tight end like that than a wide receiver that you can go into the draft every year and find yourself a guy that you
so
can
that's what I think the 49ers will do. I honestly think – I'm not sure if Deebo gets that contract. I think – there's a reason of all the wide receivers, he's the one that hasn't gotten it because he's the one that takes the most the toll. He's getting hit like a running back. He's up there running through the offensive line. Like he's out there running routes. He's doing everything. So that's the reason.
Big mistake.
And you also have to think of it, too.
Mistake.
John Lynch is far from stingy. He pays guys a lot of money, sometimes overpays them, and that's why sometimes he's been stuck with a lot of bad contracts as a result.
He's also made bad moves. Obviously drafting
really big contracts.
Samuel Thomas, who, by the way,
yes.
is
Thomas. Yeah, over Deshaun Watson.
No, not even that. Over Marshon Lattimore. If you guys had Marshon Lattimore, they would have beaten the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
But not even that.
Right.
I mean,
or if we just ran the football.
Yeah,
because they had a front seven. They had a front seven that was great. Their secondary wasn't that good though.
Solomon Thomas, when he left, he played better where he was. I think he went to where did he go? The
Raiders.
The Raiders. He played well with the Raiders.
He played okay in a platoon role. Yeah,
he played well. He didn't play okay. He played well. You go look at his numbers when he was playing. He played well, and now he's playing with the Jets, and he played better with Robert Saleh there. So maybe he'll be better as a backup player, but. That was a terrible move when they drafted him the way they drafted him. He's been a bust. Yes. So, but we've seen that before. Just because you're a first-round draft pick doesn't mean that's going to work,
Exactly. We probably have a couple championships if we do get Lattimore, let alone Watson.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'd be interested to see how Mahomes would have fit in our system and
I don't think they were going to.
It's possible.
They weren't going to get Mahomes.
I wasn't under the impression at the time they were going that hard for a quarterback at the time.
They weren't.
I thought the front seven though was still pretty good, and Lattimore was perfect for that speed corner they needed. And you think about Richard Sherman had a nice year that year for 2019 for the 49ers, but their secondary really still wasn't great. Yeah, Verrett was hurt that year.
They just traded 2 years before that. They traded for Jimmy Garoppolo. Why were they going to look for a quarterback?
Well, no, they traded Jimmy Garoppolo that year.
Second round pick.
All right, so why would they be drafting a quarterback? It would be a stupid move by them.
They didn't have Garoppolo then. It was that year in the trade deadline.
That's what I just said. Why would they draft Patrick Mahomes when they knew that they were going to go after a quarterback in trading? They weren't getting Patrick Mahomes. They weren't interested in Patrick Mahomes. Did you hear anything that year that they were looking for a quarterback? They weren't. So I don't know where you're coming up with, Speedy, with what you're saying. But
no, the draft was before that, is what I was saying.
I understand that.
So
Go ahead, Speedy.
I just wanted to mention this because you're a 49ers fan. 2 years ago, I actually had a very interesting fantasy day with that. Brandon Ayuk, I had on my team because I drafted him late. He was a rookie that year, so I drafted him late. He actually turned pretty good. And then Kyle Juszczyk. So I added Kyle Juszczyk when I was out of it at the end of the year, and I named my team Juszczyk.
Chris, don't listen to him. His fantasy teams stink. His fantasy team
stinks. I need to be in the league.
I'm talking about the name. The team was bad. The name wasn't good, but he was good. Ayuk as a late round pick that year. The rest of my team wasn't that good. I ended up with Christian McCaffrey that year. He got hurt, and a bunch of other guys that weren't that good. So yeah,
hopefully Ayuk bounces back this season.
He should.
He kind of had a disappointing year last year.
He was never targeted in the beginning of the year, and then they just stopped using him. So
he was in the doghouse. And Trey Sermon.
Yeah, don't remind me about Trey Sermon. But I just wanted to ask you now. Speaking of Trey, that's funny you brought that up. I wanted to ask you about your realistic your expectations of Trey Lance this year now, because it seems like Jimmy G is getting traded.
I think he'd be good. I think he can be great for fantasy. and it's TBD to see how it will be when it comes to actual wins and losses. But I think he'll be a good quarterback. I don't have high expectations this season. I mean, honestly, even I'm a Niners fan, we don't know much of anything about Trey. Even going back to his college tape. I mean, so
there wasn't much
we're
college
all
tape.
waiting to see, like, does this guy really have it? You know, it's one thing to dominate at the level he was playing at, but so we'll see if it kind of carries over. I'm really interested to see like what the system is with Trey Lance as quarterback. Do you let him run free, the Colin Kaepernick kind of stuff, you know, with the read options? Because that's really his bread and butter is running the football. We know he has a cannon of an arm, but can he make those touch throws? I'm not sure, especially this early in his career, but I know he can run. So I think he'll be a great fantasy quarterback, TBD on the wins and losses.
We are talking to Off the Ball Network NBA analyst and reporter Chris Bolton. Talk about the NFL as a whole. What stood out so far this offseason? Obviously, it's a couple of weeks away, OTAs. We're going to be talking about, the quarterbacks, the different teams, the changes of some of the different players. So far this offseason, what has stood out to you more than anything in the NFL?
Well, we learned that Zach Wilson has that dog in him. That's what stood out the most. But no, seriously, though, let's see. Probably – I like that. I'm curious to see how the Eagles are. You know, Jalen Hurts, he has the pieces now. You have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. So you have some options. Miles Sanders is a solid running back. So there's some pieces there for Hurts. I'm very curious to see, like, is he that guy? There's no excuses this season, I think. You know, the players are there for him to have a good season. So we'll find out if the Eagles have a franchise QB.
So I want to go back to the 49ers, which was like Jimmy G now formally announcing that he has permission to seek a trade. Now, Baker Mayfield just got traded. Seattle is that last team left. Like, are they going to trade in division, or do you see maybe another team swooping in where he might get traded to? Because he might just be a backup somewhere this year, and I don't know if he's going to want to be that.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody is honestly going to swoop in and trade him. He might just get cut. He might just get released. I think that's very possible because I don't think you want that dynamic of Jimmy still when it's supposed to be Trey's time. You know, I think you need to go ahead and cut ties. But yeah, I don't see even a in division trade. Definitely not trading to Seattle. We'll see if somebody else kind of swoops in. The options are pretty limited. Everybody has either made their move or is already set with their mediocre to good to great quarterback. So there's not really many options for Jimmy this late in the game, I think. But injuries happen. Stuff happens. So, you know, the league is always changing. So somebody might say, you know what, let's go get him if they get desperate enough.